they say that social media is more attractive, it's more popular than any other form of online activity. That includes gambling, shopping, porn, and cloud computing. Perhaps unless you're an accountant. Anybody find cloud computing much more exciting? Yes, probably. I can understand that. I can understand that. The question, though, is how can you use social media, online social media, to boost your practice, to make your practice more successful? And I'm not one of these marketing gurus who says that it is easy or that it is always worthwhile experimenting with social media. As you've just heard, I'm a great person. I'm a great one for experimenting with it. I use social media to a great extent, but I'm not an accountant in practice anymore. And the critical question for you must always be, is this the best way that I could be spending my time? And if it is, how can I use that time most productively? Does that make sense? Okay, now, this isn't about me, this is about you, but it might help you to understand why I say the things I do if you understand where it is I'm coming from. Yes, I'm very active online. I have my own blog. One blog is Boring is Optional, which used to be Accountant Jokes and Fun. There's over 600 on there. Been doing that for 5 or 6 years. I also have my own blog for ambitious accountants under the Bookmark Lee brand. I'm active on Facebook. I'm very active on LinkedIn, which is the one that I believe all accountants should be involved with. I'm also on Twitter. I'm consultant practice editor on Accounting Web, which is online forums. I've contributed to Accountancy Age, to 4Networking, to Ecademy, which sadly doesn't exist anymore. I've got a YouTube channel, and I contribute to various other online activities as well. Does anybody here do anything like as much as that? We think that's a fair assumption. Now, I've been doing this for over 6 years now. And I've evolved what I do, and I've evolved the advice I give accountants as well. And what I'd like to do today is to help clarify for you many of the misconceptions and help you decide whether you want to use online media, and if so, how you might choose to use it. The first thing to do, though, is to dispel the misconception that social networking and social media is all about being social rather than business. That's not the case at all. In this context, social means social rather than being antisocial. And that's the only thing you need to keep in mind. Because if you are antisocial online, it will work as badly for you as if you are antisocial face-to-face. The best example I can give here is if you were to go to a new village and to walk into the local pub, and in the local pub, where you've never been before, you get up on a chair and you shout out to the audience, not to the audience, to everybody else in the pub, "Hi, I'm a new accountant, just arrived in town. We are great at doing your accounts and your bookkeeping. We're really proactive. You want to come to us." That's a pretty antisocial thing to do with people you don't know, isn't it? Do you think it would be very successful? It wouldn't be, would it? When you use social media, you have to avoid standing there with a megaphone and doing pretty much the equivalent of standing on the chair in the middle of a pub in a new town. Because you're joining a new community when you get involved online in social media. Does that make sense? At best, you'll be ignored. At worst, that could just ruin your reputation. So you have to be very careful how you engage with social media to avoid ruining your reputation, damaging your reputation. The realistic objectives, what you can do if you get involved online with social media to help you be more successful, to build your practice. You can use it to build your profile and your reputation, to build your contacts list. You can use it to raise awareness of you as a personal expert, or maybe to build your business brand, but I'm doubtful about how many accountants can do that. The larger firms, possibly yes. Sage certainly can use it for branding, but most accountants, it's all about you as a person and possibly your practice, but more likely you as a person. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a great advocate of using LinkedIn, as I'll explain later. But there are three basic elements which will determine whether you're successful with social media. The first one is how effectively you communicate with other people and with the people you meet and engage with online. The second is how effective your website is at converting any attention that your social media activity delivers to your website. The second point is how effective is your website at converting that interest into real prospects and real clients. And the third element, which is crucial, is how well do you interact with people and network with them live, face-to-face. Because if you just try to use social media online and cut out the face-to-face interaction, you're pretty much wasting your time. It'll be fun, but it won't build your practice. It is very easy to get sucked into the idea that social media is a panacea to grow your practice, only to find that you spend loads and loads of time trying to make it work, and then conclude it doesn't work. And the analogy I draw here is it can be like getting into a car and going, well, this looks really easy. Here's a steering wheel, and there's this pedal in the middle, and there's this stick thing here. And if all you're aware of is that pedal in the middle, the brake, and the gear stick, your car doesn't go very fast, it doesn't go very far, it doesn't get you anywhere. Now, is that the fault of the car, or is it the fact that you haven't learned how to use the accelerator and the clutch? And sometimes things like the accelerator and the clutch are not as obvious as the brake pedal and the gear stick. So it's very easy to get confused and to go, oh, I'm not driving anywhere, cars don't work. When in actual fact, it's more the fact you haven't learned how to use the car properly. Well, as we're accountants, I thought it might be useful just to show a formula for how we might express what's going on here. We're going to ask Harry, whose time is finite, to allocate some time to social media. And in formulaic terms, that means he's going to stop doing X, whatever X is at the moment, in order to do Y, something else to do with social media. And we hope that that is going to produce the results of Z, which should be more valuable to us than Q, which is whatever else he's doing or whatever else he could be doing. Realistically, you need to allocate probably 5 hours a week after people have got to grips with what's going on. Is this going to be the best use of their time? Possibly. It depends what objectives you set. What is it you want the social media to achieve for you? If you just hop on the bandwagon without a very clear objective, you will almost certainly not get a good return on your investment of time. Let me tell you something about Twitter. Because a lot of people have misconceptions about Twitter, which are not helped because of the way that the media reports stories to do with Twitter. I tend to think of Twitter as being like a satellite TV. Does anybody in the room have satellite TV? Yeah? Now, you could say that satellite TV is full of children's channels. There's nothing else there except TV for children. But that's not right, is it? There are lots of other channels available on satellite, and you choose which channels you watch. Twitter is exactly the same. There's a load of rubbish on there, and the media pick up on a lot of it and report a lot of it, which makes you think, oh my goodness, if I go on Twitter, I'm going to see all this rubbish. In practice, you only see what you choose to see on Twitter. So this is me on Twitter. This is taken from my Twitter page, which is a page I only ever go to when I need to cut and paste that picture in order to put it into presentations like this. Because I use some of the other tools, which I'll show you in a moment. But you can see there that I've tweeted almost 20,000 times over the last 6 years or so. I've got about 4,500 followers. Now here's the key thing. I'm only following about 680 people. Many of them are accountants who don't tweet very often. So I don't have to try and keep up with everything. And indeed, I don't see everything that they tweet. I'm speaking to you for an hour today. After we finish, I'll have a look at my phone. I might scroll back and see a few of the things that people have tweeted in the last hour or so. I won't see everything. Equally, I recognise people who follow me won't see everything I tweet either. Really important to recognise that Twitter is a bit like a fast-flowing river. People dip in and out. They don't see everything you tweet. You won't see everything that the people you're following tweet, unless you only follow a few people, in which case, if I was one of them, I'd drive you mad, because I'm tweeting 15, 20 times a day, at least. People just dip in and out. So what can you use Twitter for? You can you can use it to see what other accountants are doing, and how other accountants seem to be making a success of it. Clarity. Invariably, people who are successful with social media, and indeed with any form of networking and any form of marketing, because social media is just another form of marketing in this respect, even though it's one in which you have to converse. It's not broadcast marketing, it's engagement marketing, if you like. I think I just coined that phrase. Engagement marketing. I might use that again. The clearer your proposition as regards what it is that you do and that makes you or your practice different, the more likely you are to be successful. Objectives. Well, are they the person who you're looking to emulate? Are their objectives new high-paying fees from clients, or any new fees from clients? Maybe they're using social media to engage with existing clients, and it's helping them to generate more fees from their existing clients. The profile, your profile on Twitter or on social media generally, how clear is it? How distinct is it? Does it stand out from all the other accountants? You will invariably find that anybody who is successful using social media is engaging. Engagement marketing, the phrase I used just now. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're getting involved with social media in order to push people to your website to get them to become new clients, then your website needs to engage people as well. And I said earlier, the three things, I'm going to repeat it because it's so important, the three things that will determine your success, a bit like the accelerator, the brake and the clutch, are: one, how effective are you in engaging with people online when you're using social media? Two, how effective is your website at converting that interest into real conversations? And thirdly, how active are you in converting the online conversations into face-to-face conversations? If you fail on any one of those three, you won't consider social media to be effective, and it's not social media's fault if that's the case. So when others say it works, the 5 criteria spell out the word scope. So it's important to scope out, as an audit term for us, to scope out the reasons why somebody else is making a success of it, and perhaps how you can as well. A couple of examples about how you can make sure that you get best value from social media, in particular Twitter. I think it can work if you're newish into practice and if your focus are new small businesses. I think it works best for business to consumer type operators trying to target consumers, but it's really important to consider who your audience is. Sage's audience are accountants. My audience are accountants. You might expect us to operate and use social media in similar ways. Your audience are business people, business owners, private individuals maybe. So I think I should now talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is by far the most important online social networking tool that accountants can use to build their practice. That's the top of my profile page on LinkedIn. And you can see at the bottom a status update, which I posted yesterday or the day before, back from a week's ski trip in Val d'Isère. Sorry, that's why I've got a bit of a cold. Now finalising my presentation for Sage Island on Tuesday, I'm speaking about social media and online networking at the Future of Accounting. So, is it worth being on LinkedIn? Yes, yes, yes. Quick show of hands. How many people in the room think that they are registered on LinkedIn? Oh, that's almost everybody. That's great. How many people in the room would consider themselves to be active on LinkedIn? That's almost nobody. Stark contrast. I would encourage you to beef up your LinkedIn profile, and if you're going to do anything in terms of online social media, I would focus on LinkedIn. But it does depend upon your practice, your target clients, and your existing clients. Where are they? Where can you engage with them online? It's worth being on LinkedIn. It's worth having your profile on LinkedIn because it means people can find you. They may be looking specifically for you because they dealt with you before in a past life, or they may be looking for somebody like you, an accountant in Cork or wherever it is you're based. You need to make it as easy as possible for them to find you. You can also use LinkedIn to build your reputation, again, with prospects, maybe with clients, with influencers, with referrers, people who might refer work to you. So I use LinkedIn much as I use Twitter, partly to help ensure that organisations like Sage want to book me to speak at their seminars and conferences. And it works. I'm here. Thank you. You can also use it to build your reputation with future contacts and clients, and also with recruiters and with suppliers, and with prospective staff, prospective members of staff. An often overlooked benefit of engaging on social media. By the way, I hate the way that LinkedIn is classed as social media. As far as I'm concerned, it's online media. Yes, it's social because you have the opportunity to engage with other people. But if we stopped calling it a form of social media, I think those who've held back from registering on it might be a little bit more enthusiastic. There's a whole range of ways in which you can describe yourself on LinkedIn. On the slide on my laptop, sorry, I've made that slide build here. I'm afraid they're all landed on top of each other. What I wanted to show you was that the first person just says that they are an accountant. The second person describes themselves as a business owner. The third person describes themselves as an accountant in their local area. The fourth one goes into a little bit more detail. And this one, I think, is probably the most successful of the headlines. This is the headline facility on LinkedIn to describe yourself. It's the first thing that everybody sees about you. Make it work for you. You're not just an accountant, you're not just a business owner. It doesn't matter what you put in originally, you can go in and edit your profile. What Tony does is what it says on the tin. He says he's a tax consultant and tax partner when needed, offering practical advice and sensible solutions to all your tax issues. Tony also happens to be a member of my tax advice network of 50 tax specialists, tax experts, providing tax support and advice to accountants around the UK and Ireland, I think. Use your headline effectively. That's the message here. You also need to evidence the fact that people can trust you. Online is as important as offline, because who do people choose as their accountants? People that they've got to know, people that they like, and people that they trust. If I just described myself online as social media for accountants, leaving aside the fact I do other stuff, that's not as likely to get people to engage with me as if I use my name, Mark Lee. It is also quite a proven fact. More people will click and engage with you if there is a photo of you on your profile as if there is just a name. We have to get over this reservation we have about putting our profile up there, our photos online. Put a professional looking photo of you. Not a photo taken at a wedding, not a holiday snap. This is a professional online business networking site. It should be a professional looking photo. Connect people, make introductions that are worthwhile and valuable. Be honest in your posts and replies. Be trustworthy. And then people will trust you, and it makes it easier for them to engage with you and to want to benefit from using your services. LinkedIn can be used for lead generation. If you have a clear target audience and you know who the decision makers are in the organizations you're looking to target, you will almost certainly be able to find them on LinkedIn, connect with them, and then be able to progress the chase in the normal way, or determine that you don't need to spend time trying to see them. So whilst I am a great advocate of social media and using it effectively, I have to stress that getting success from the use of online social networking is more challenging, and it is not a quick form of marketing. If you see social media as something where you just blast out marketing messages, you will be disappointed. If you take the time to engage with people, engagement marketing, very different. It can be very powerful, very helpful, very useful, and it can be a lot of fun as well. But do ensure that you check the right metrics to determine whether or not it's being successful for you. It's not about how many likes you get on Facebook. It's not about how many people follow you on Twitter, or how many retweets you get, or how often your hashtags are used. They're all nice things to have. It's not about how many groups you're a member of. You're not allowed to be a member of more than 50 groups on LinkedIn. I am a member of about 49. I keep it about there. It varies. But frankly, as accountants, you want to be in the groups, I would imagine, for business people in Cork, rather than all the groups for all the other accountants. You have to be very clear when you start engaging on social media. If you want to get success from it, you've got to set a clear strategy. And it's part of your marketing strategy, I would imagine. And you then need to consider which social networks, which social network platforms your clients and prospective clients are engaged on. If they're not engaged there, if they're not active there, are you wasting your time? The one exception to that is LinkedIn. You don't have to be active on LinkedIn for it to be successful. And your target audience may be registered there, they may not be active, it doesn't matter. If you can find them there, you can engage with them, and then you can engage with them in the normal way through email, telephone, and face-to-face meetings. And that's much more important than what you do online.